Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first in-person recording of the Washed Athlete podcast. But instead of a regular podcast episode, we are here today to talk about Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel probably ended about 1 or 2 weeks ago. 1 week, 2?
I want to say about a week ago or something like that.
But anyway, we wanted to talk about it. Thor: Love and Thunder kind of overshadowed the ending, I think, a little bit. It kind of felt like after Thor: Love and Thunder, I was like, oh yeah, Miss Marvel also happened. So I'm excited to talk about it. I think Miss Marvel's a very interesting TV show. I think it started off really hot, maybe had a little bit of down point. So we're just gonna get right into it. Jacob, first impressions, what did you think about Miss Marvel?
Miss Marvel from the beginning, I thought it was on pace to be probably one of my favorite MCU TV shows. I really liked it kind of reminded me a lot of Spider-Man, the Tom Holland aspects of more of a childish vibe. It was a good change of pace from the typical MCU shows, and it's introducing a new character. I thought they did it in a fairly good way. There weren't any I would say looking back at it, there weren't necessarily many supporting characters that I was
Oh,
I
really?
Loved. There were.
I love the supporting characters,
but there wasn't one that I loved. I would say that they all did a fairly good job. But it was more of a solid, not spectacular performance from all of the supporting cast. I thought that the quote unquote villain in the show was kind of very tame.
You don't really know who the villain is.
Yeah, I thought it was bad. Spoilers, of course, for Miss Marvel.
Yeah, it will be in the title and the description. So
of course, but I thought the villain wasn't very good. I thought that the final two episodes, the second to last episode, I felt was very rushed. And when I was watching it, I remember Raj said in our group chat saying, "I can't believe there's no way this is the last episode."
Yeah,
and I kind of gave off vibes of being the last episode, and then it wasn't, thankfully, because I thought that would have just been a horrible finale. And then the last episode was it was better than the second to last one, but I still think that given the pace and how well the show had been doing up until that point, it was still somewhat disappointing. But
yeah,
the very ending, I think it set up the MCU in a way that I'm very excited for.
Yeah, I have similar thoughts. I think it started off really well. I think episodes 1, 2, and 3, when they're still in Jersey City, are super good, super lighthearted. You got what you said, Tom Holland, Spider-Man vibe, high school kind of stuff. And then it's sad because when you go to Karachi, you kind of are this might have been too much, and that's kind of where my issues lie with the show. But I mean, I think the supporting characters are great. I love Naki, Bruno. I like the Sikh. He's awesome. I love both of her parents. I like Kamran. So I feel I'm rooting for a bunch of characters. And Naki, is Naki Nakia?
I couldn't tell you. I don't remember.
Kamala Khan calls her Nox.
Yeah.
I think it might be Nakia. But when she wins, to get onto the board for the mosque, I'm hell yeah!
Oh, okay.
You go,
yeah.
I'm when Bruno gets early immersion into Caltech, I'm Bruno, what's up, dog? We got this. So, I was rooting for the characters. And I love to see because he's when damage control comes up, he's you're not allowed to search these premises, or they whip out their IDs last minute because he's playing the game because he's protecting it. So I love all the kind of side characters in the show. I think actually the main character might be a little bit I like her, but sometimes she's a little bit weird and annoying. But it's also part of the high school vibe.
I felt she was perfect for the role. Even watching some interviews that she would be in, I felt that character. I thought that was just her personality.
Yeah.
I felt that there wasn't anything that she was being I don't think she was trying to play up a role or play down a lot.
No.
That was just her being
I thought she was very solid.
Yeah, I enjoyed her being. I thought Mon Vellani did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
But
she's always geeking about the little things, which is cool because she's 16 years old. So it's
exactly.
She goes to Avenger Con and
exactly. We can relate to her in a way because we also, we're doing a podcast episode about Miss Marvel. So obviously we're somewhat nerds about Marvel and stuff like that. She might not be a nerd, she's specifically a nerd about Captain Marvel, but she's still an overall
in episode 1, she's making that whole thing, that whole YouTube video that ends up showing up. She has 2 views on it, and it's It's oh yeah, we were gonna lose, and then Captain Marvel blasted through Thanos' ship, and then she punched Thanos in the face and won. And it's actually funny because like Thanos ended up like clocking Miss Marvel, not Miss Marvel. She ended up clocking Captain Marvel in Endgame. Great scene, by the way. Just I was rooting for that nice Power Stone hit on Captain Marvel. I'm not gonna lie, but and she has like a little like Ant-Man and the Wasp like love story underneath the video she just posted. I think it's just funny because like they show kind of like the high school like little stuff where it's like she has like 2 views on one video, and then like one of the comments is like Bruno, her best friend, being like, "This is such a great video," and it's like that's exactly how like podcasts and like YouTube videos work when you're like in high school and like you're starting off. Like your friends are the only people watching and commenting. I was like, that's funny. You got 2 views on something, and your friend is the only one who commented. I was like, that's relatable.
Exactly.
So I loved all of that, what that had to offer. So I guess now we'll just kind of get into a little bit more specifics, and I guess we want to start off with. Aaron, do we want to talk about the ending? Right? Do we just want to talk about the ending right off, Rick?
If you want to.
All right, we'll talk about the ending because when they say that she has like mutation in her genes, you're just like, no way. Like,
I was so excited because I remember Andres was talking about how he was a fan of X-Men Days of Future Past, so I went back and I watched that. It was pretty good. You know, I liked it. And then my friend Will, he was today.
Shout out Will. It's the second podcast in a row we've shouted out Will.
Exactly. Shout out Will. Hopefully he'll be on the podcast soon. He was telling me that one of his favorite ones is X-Men First Class. So I went and I watched that, and I thought that was also really good. So I'm kind of like on an X-Men I don't know. I'm enjoying the X-Men movies. I kind of want to keep on watching them, and I also like Patrick Stewart because I've watched Star Trek Next Generation. He was like he played John Luke Picard. He did a fantastic job, and I mean it's Star Trek's like. I would say it's a long show. Like it's a long episodes of dense. I don't even remember why I started watching it, but I just watched it. But I did really enjoy it, so it's cool to see, like, you know, in Multiverse of Madness, Patrick Stewart popping up and being, you know, Professor X. They're talking about mutations. They're talking about having Deadpool 3 being officially canon to the MCU. All these things are starting to combine into having you know, X-Men mutants in the MCU. So that word choice was I was like, no way. Because aside from that, I thought the final episode was like, you know, it was kind of like bringing together all of like the character development you saw from the characters, but it was like such a like, I guess, solid, nothing like spectacular way to do it. So when I don't know if I'm just like I just like watching this stuff to see how this like overall plot line progresses, but like when I finally heard, okay, this is like a big thing that's going to be happening, I got really excited for it.
Yeah, we've been talking about like the word choice, and it's like you don't need to be like an X-Men nerd just to know when they say the word like mutation, you're like you know it's a big deal. Like you know how much that means to like other Marvel projects, specifically like the X-Men, like, and you can see kind of how Damage Control's already like concerned about this like enhanced individual and whatnot, and you're like you can see where this is setting up, where like the world is going to be against people with mutations, and where like they're going to be against people like Deadpool and probably like John Krasinski's Mr. Fantastic. Yeah, I really not well versed in X-Men.
I watched
Fantastic Four or whatever.
Yeah, I watched. I also heard Fantastic Four, the 2015 or 2016 one. I don't remember what year, but I heard that one was awful. And I
did you decide to go back and watch it?
Oh, 100%. I love watching like very bad movies just to see like how bad they are.
Yeah.
Like, there's one movie called Money Plane that is really, really bad. But it was more of like so bad that like it was enjoyable to watch. I watched the X-Men movie and it was just like so incredibly fast paced. And by the end, like they killed off like the mentor and basically we're in like the third act where they kill off the villain. Like basically within 15 minutes of each other. And I was just like, there's no way this was the whole movie. And they have a great cast too. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened. I was like, yeah, this movie is in fact. I mean, Will was saying that was like his least favorite movie. He thought it was the worst. Andres was saying it was like the worst movie. Like, without a doubt. And I was like, there's no way it's that bad. Yeah. It ain't even bad. Like, it's not even like a funny bad. It's just a bad
like trash. Yeah, trash.
So, yeah. I mean, hopefully they'll bring Reed Richards in. Hopefully, I mean, I love John Krasinski from The Office, so hopefully they'll, he'll do a good job.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna come. They're gonna come back. Like, there's no way they just put these characters in for like 5 minutes of screen time in Multiverse of Madness. I know people were upset about that, but like they'll come back. And then also like one of the mid-credit scenes is like Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel literally like swapping places,
Right.
Which is just like nuts because now like the excitement for like the Marvels, which is a movie or show coming out, is way higher. And I'm like, wait, how does Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel fit in together?
Right.
And it's like, I think Miss Marvel is kind of a movie that I don't hate as much as a lot of other people hate, but still like did not live up to the hype you want it to be. And now suddenly it's like Secret Invasion. Like I think Miss Marvel, which was well received by fans, it's like now I'm kind of getting more excited for Captain Marvel 2, the Marvels or whatnot. I'm like, this could build some positive momentum to where you could see like having the sequel of like for Captain Marvel 2 just being a little bit better, and I think that's going to trend in the right direction because like when you think of movies that need to have sequels that are like good, you're thinking like Eternals is like needs to have a good sequel because a lot of fans didn't like it. Captain Marvel needs to have a good sequel. I even think in a sense that this Captain America movie coming up needs to have a good sequel. I don't think Falcon Winter Soldier was as well received.
Well, I think it needs to have a good sequel because the other three have been absolute bangers.
Yeah,
like they just need to like continue to do Captain America right in the movie.
So now I'm like, the sequel has a lot more riding on it, and it could really be a banger because of this reason. And I'm sure there's going to be a Miss Marvel season 2. I think a lot of these shows have season like What If has already have a season 2 confirmed. Loki I think has a season 2 confirmed. Not sure. I don't think Falcon and Winter Soldier will, right? Because Captain 4.
Yeah, I would assume so.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what the other ones would be. But yeah, I mean, when I saw that, like I haven't seen this Marvel. I mean, Captain Marvel rather. That's the only Marvel film MCU movie I haven't seen. I just never got around to seeing it in theaters. I remember watching Infinity War, seeing like the symbol for Captain Marvel, and then obviously I didn't know who it was.
You're like, well, who's that?
I went on my phone, looked it up, and then I was like, okay, that's Captain Marvel, and I like claimed to be an expert about. Yeah. Within the next 15 minutes.
I know exactly how they're going to do this.
Exactly. So I never wound up seeing it, but I did hear that it was like not a lot of people liked it. But you hear about Captain Marvel is she's just off world doing a bunch of random stuff. And
now she's on world. Now she's in Jersey City.
Exactly. So it's like, okay, like I'm kind of like, because now I'm curious about, okay, what has her experience been like? But you're also probably going to be seeing that somewhat through Kamala because she's now going to like, assuming they swap places, exactly she's going to be, off world. But also like looking at like the Thor movie, like it just like Love and Thunder that just came out, Guardians movies. I don't get what off world really means because like they went to eternity. Like what in the world does off world mean?
No,
I think that's pretty off-world.
No, the definition of off-world in Marvel now has completely changed. It used to be like everyone was on Earth, and now it's like the Guardians are someplace, Thor is someplace. Well, Thor's in Norway, I guess now, wherever New Asgard is. But like, he's not always on the planet. He was in eternity. The Guardians are always someplace. Captain Marvel's someplace. Nick Fury still is probably floating around in space somewhere. Yeah, on his big entire like ship. So like, you got the scrolls and stuff too. So yeah, you're right. Like, what is off-world anymore?
I really don't know. But I mean, like literally, just like, and I love how Marvel will use like some like just funny words, and like plays on words to like create planets, like omnipotent. Yeah, I didn't know it was like I didn't at first. I was just thinking it was omnipotency, but then I think it was probably like Peter.
It was totally Peter. Yeah. Totally Peter.
It was totally Peter. Yeah, he was the one who was saying it's omnipotent city, and I was like, oh, okay, that's a funny play on words because it's a bunch of like gods that are living there. But like it's just I'm really curious like what off-world means because you think that like they've gone to literally a place called nowhere. They've gone to eternity.
Devil's Anus.
They've gone to Devil's Anus. They've gone to like Loki has literally traveled to like the center of the universe. Yeah. So like I don't see where else Miss Marvel could like be going.
Yeah, and Doctor Strange. I mean, Multiverse of Madness. They're in literally different multiverses.
Exactly.
So it's like it's completely flipped upside down. So I think almost the ending was like opened up so many cans of worms that I don't really feel like it developed enough during the show. Like they kind of said they teased a little bit about like the mutant thing. In one of the earlier episodes, Bruno's like, "Oh, you get your power from yourself, not from the bangle. The bangle's kind of just harnessing it, kind of like how Wizards won." channels the magic in like Harry Potter. And then he also like says later that like it's genetic. So like they kind of tease that it's a mutation, but almost like just hearing the word mutant, I didn't feel like they quite deserved that. And then also like to have Captain Marvel show up, it was just like, holy crap, like I didn't even think this was gonna happen. So like for a show that like felt pretty like self-contained, like all of a sudden to just have the last couple scenes, I was like, damn, like we're really out here like connecting Miss Marvel to a lot of things. So I think like the last couple minutes just with the mutants and with Captain Marvel showing up, I think really like I mean Raj texted it when he finished watching it probably like 4 a.m. He was like, oh, this changes everything or changed a lot. And I was like, it really does. Like it takes the Captain Marvel plot and really connects it now, where we didn't know how it was going to be connected before, and now like you're potentially talking about like X-Men showing up, and Kamala's never been an X-Men. I don't think in any like universe before. So it's like, is she going to be the start of that? Because that's a really interesting, fresh take on like X-Men and mutants, which I'm like very excited for.
Well, I want to say she's even like a newer character, like in Marvel.
Yeah,
I want to say that her like the comics for like Con are like just newer.
Yeah.
Like, within the last definitely within the last 20 years, I want to say. But like,
for sure.
So I am curious to see like what they're going to be doing with her. But I feel like I have no idea where the MCU is going in terms of like direction, like who's like the big bad. Because at first you watch Loki, you think it's going to be Kang the Conqueror. You're like, okay, it's got to be that.
It's got to be Kang.
But then you're like, okay, I've watched Thor: Love and Thunder. How is Hercules going to be like? You know, like what's he doing in there? You get to watch Doctor Strange. Some like random woman just pops up and like takes him to another place.
Yep, that's Dormammu's niece or something. Yeah.
Dormammu's niece.
Yeah,
cool. No idea who that is. I mean, I know who Dormammu is, but never heard of Dormammu's niece. I mean, you just have so many different like just avenues and like just different areas that like they can expand upon, and like especially with Loki, I would say, because you watch like the timeline get broken up so much. And I'm assuming with Doctor Strange, like I don't know. I just think that I hope that I'm assuming you just got to trust in Kevin Feige. But I
have a lot of trust. I think if they can link these things, like people are kind of. I think Phase 4 is getting a lot of crap for like being like not being the best. Like the moves are kind of like rushed, and they're trying to be like there's always like gigantic stakes and never like small stake movies. And I'm like, but if they connect these movies into like a banger film where there's like a good solid crossover, I'm like, that's really like that will be really good. I mean, No Way Home, people love No Way. Like I feel like people forgot that No Way Home is a lot of people's like in their top 5, top 6.
Yeah.
And it happened in Phase 4. They're like, oh, Phase 4 6. Like we got a top like 6 movie already in Phase 4. So like I don't really know where like all the hate is there because I'm like,
it's like I feel like a lot of this is kind of like thinking back to like Phase 1, like the OG like movies. Like I would say Thor wasn't that good. I'm not that big a fan of Iron Man.
No, I think Thor. I think I have Thor as like one of my like. I think I have Thor and Thor: The Dark World as like some of my 2 least favorite movies. Cause like I don't think Thor's that good.
It's not. I don't think it's that good.
And Incredible Hulk's very low on a lot of people's lists.
Yeah.
Even like Iron Man 2 is really low. Iron Man
2 sucks.
Yeah. I'm a bigger defender of Iron Man 2, but it's still not a great movie. So it's like you've got Iron Man 2, Incredible Hulk, Thor and Thor. There, those are all Phase 1 projects. Like you got some pretty ass Phase 1 products over here. So I don't really. And I would not call Thor: Love and Thunder ass. I would not call Multiverse of Madness ass.
Disappointing, but not definitely not ass.
No, definitely not ass. I think some of the TV shows have been like disappointing and not maybe that classified as ass, but like I have a different standard for movies than I do for TV shows. Kind of, I find the TV shows to kind of be like we're setting things up for a bigger movie. And WandaVision was setting up for a bigger movie in Multiverse of Madness. I expect Falcon Winter Soldier to be setting up for Captain America 4. Loki is setting up for some Kang Conqueror, maybe season 2 of Loki, maybe some bigger movie. I don't know yet, but like I expect that to set up for it. So like I'm not holding the movies. The TV shows as high of a standard. So I think that will be really interesting to see how it all ties together. I mean, that's kind of what we've been talking a lot on the podcast, and I feel like what Marvel fans have been talking a lot about in general is like, how is this going to connect? Can we pull it all together? Because people are concerned, if we're being honest. But circling back, I think Miss Marvel, I really enjoyed it. But I think when you go to Karachi you start opening too many backstories because you've got damage control is after Kamala. You've got the clandestines who are trying to get back home. They've talked about the Nor, they talked about the Jinn. You have the Red Daggers who are there. You have Aisha and her passing. Like, for some reason, all the aunties back home like are sussed out by Aisha. And you got like one other group, I just don't remember who they are, but you got all these people like linked in trying to like make things. You're like, who's the real villain here? Like, I guess damage control is the real villain, but like,
yeah, but it's a weak.
The clandestines are like trying to kill people and like get to Kamala for a good chunk of the movie. Right. So like, I guess damage control is the villain, but the clandestines are kind of the villain, and then it just gets a little bit confusing. Like, I'm not really sure what happened. Like, the lead clandestine, who is Kamran's mom, she like pretty much melted trying to get into like the veil or something, and then through the veil, and then like
she went inside of Kamran.
Yeah, or her powers went to Kamran, and then like, or she went inside Kamran, and like, I'm still not really sure how all that works together. Now, I think that could be a thing with Secret Invasion, right? Like the clandestines are involved in like Secret Invasion. I can totally see that because they have the throwaway line with the Red Daggers, where they're like, "Oh, the clandestines move in the shadows." So I'm not sure if like they're gonna try to invade or something. Like, it's just like I didn't even look anything up about that. It's just like what I'm thinking about, but like, there was a lot of moving parts, and then with damage control, I was like, as much as I like, it's trying to set up the whole X-Men mutants thing. I'm kind of like, this one chick, her last name's Deaver. I'm like, why does she hate enhanced individuals so much? I was like, she is really pissed off for having never like seemingly been affected by enhanced individuals, and maybe she'll have a backstory that is revealed over time. But like, we don't know any like mutants so far, so like, I don't really know like how she would have been affected by it. So I just think like the villains are kind of an issue with the show. It's kind of like, I just feel like there's a lot going on. There wasn't like one direction. It was damage control, clandestines, finding out about your past in Aisha. And it's like they need to take those three things and make them two things, and that's kind of where it's let down. But I really, really enjoyed the first three episodes. I thought episode 4 was still solid. I mean, that ends when I don't know what her first name is, but Kamran's mom like stabs the bracelet, and then you see like the partition happening. And I think what this TV show should get a lot of credit for is I think they do a really good cultural job of like exploring like the Pakistani culture and like what's going on, because I thought that was super cool. I don't know about you, but like I like seeing Pakistan. I like seeing the family dynamics. I like seeing like the stuff with like mosque and whatnot. I was like, that's a really interesting like fresh take that Marvel like has not had in the past.
No, I agree. I think that a lot of times you have like just the typical like I guess American culture and taking like going and I think from a representation aspect, it's always good to see like somebody that looks like you and like is saying like race as you, saying like sexual orientation, like whatever core cultural identifier, like on screen and like being like doing good. So I think it did a good job. Like at the end of the day, I'm not like a part of that. I'm not a part of that culture, so I have to plead ignorance in terms of like how culturally accurate it is.
Yeah.
But I think that I think it's a good step in the right direction for Marvel to be trying to like have enough cultural representation, not as a way to just like check the box, but I think that they are trying to do like a good job of like having a good like TV show or like good movie that just happens to be part of like a different culture.
Yeah,
I think that's totally necessary.
No, because like superheroes can be all races, like genders, like sexualities and whatnot. So it's like if you just have white like superheroes, that's not really like good representation at all. That's like you actively choosing to make that decision. Like they say in one of the first episodes, Kamala's like, "Oh yeah, like no brown girl from Jersey City is going to be a superhero," and then Bruno's kind of like, "Why not?
Yeah,
like you're Kamala Khan." Like that's like a big like message. Like anyone can be a superhero. Anyone can like do big things. Doesn't matter like what race you are.
Exactly, and I think that's something that needs to be like hammered down more at that point. Like it doesn't matter. Like at the end of the day, like I guess where you come from, like your background. If you put your mind to it, that you can do it. I don't think that there should be anybody or any group telling you that you can't do something. Like I think you should go chase your dreams. And I think that Kamala did that exactly throughout the show. I think like she had different people like that were trying to hinder her from doing that. Even one being her mom.
Yeah,
her mom was very
for a good part of it, but she comes around, which is I think like her mother's arc is actually really cool to see on screen.
no.
I think for both parents and for children, and just in general, just watching the show, it's a good arc to see.
No, because one thing I picked up from the first episode was that her mom was letting her son do practically anything that he would want, and Kamala wouldn't be allowed to do anything.
Amir literally got married with like $738 in his bank account.
Yeah, so I mean, I wouldn't personally do that, but I mean, it's his choice, so fair enough, maybe. But like at the end of the day, like Kamala couldn't even go to an event, like to avenge her
because they thought she was going to a party in tight clothing.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely. I mean, from the very first episode, I was very vocal that I wasn't a big fan of her mom because she was not letting her, because she was being so strict on Kamala versus her brother. And at the end of the day, it's not like that's her brother's fault or anything. That's the reality of the situation. That's how that was how the show was written.
Yeah.
But I didn't like that. I thought it was like fairly sexist. And like I guess whether it's culturally accurate or not, I still thought that at the end of the day, it's still wrong for that to be the case. But as you were saying, as like the show continues to go on, and Kamala goes through like different trials, tribulations, she gets in like dangerous situations. She saves like a person from like somehow gets super high up like on a tower. Like
he's taking a selfie out of like the top, and he grabs onto the curtain.
Like what is that kid doing anyways? But
like so annoying.
Like
one of my favorite throwaway lines from the show is he's like, Kamala is like, oh, what's your like favorite food to try to distract him? And he's like, ice cream pizza, and the people on the floor are like, ice cream pizza. I'm like, what? Like, what's that? She's like, would you eat that in a bowl or like on a plate? Like,
no, I mean, I couldn't imagine being like, don't be that kid. Don't be the kid that tries to take a selfie, from a very high place that you have the potential to fall and seriously injure yourself.
Don't do that, kids.
Do not do that. We do not we are not fans of that at the Watch Athlete podcast.
Nah.
But as she continues to go on and prove that she can do fantastic things, her mom, I guess as she starts eventually she does realize, okay, Kamala's Miss Marvel. She realizes, okay, I was wrong. Mm-hmm. My daughter can in fact do all these fantastic things. And I get as a parent that you want to be protective and you want your your child to do or you want your child to succeed in all areas. I still think that, I would say this. There's with good reason.
Yeah.
You should. I mean, at the end of the day, the child's going to have to live their life to an extent, make their own mistakes, succeed in their own ways and stuff like that. But I did like how at the end her mom became less overbearing and let Kamala do what she do what she wants to do and do what she's good at.
And you can see that shift, which is really cool because kind of at the end of episode 3, Amir's wedding, she comes back home. She pulled the fire alarm. Her mom's pretty mad at her. They have a silent flight over to Pakistan, and you can see at the end of episode 4, Miss Marvel's mom, they sit down and they have a toffee and they're laughing, and you can see they're getting along here because what's happening is they use Sana, which is the grandma, as a way to be look what you did with your relationship to your own mom. Do you want your daughter to feel that way about you? They really use those 3 generations of females to explore that relationship, which is just super cool. And you see by episode 6, they're literally in the street get him, obviously they're concerned as parents, but I really enjoyed that dynamic. I think the father Abu, it's not his name, but I liked him a lot. Just even small things, he shows up in the Hulk outfit and he's got his face all painted and whatnot. I was okay, supportive dad, I like it. Mm-hmm. And they have Bruno build the Zuzu automated home device, and he's getting mad at it. He's oh, this thing doesn't work. I need Bruno back here to fix it or whatnot. And I think Bruno not that he doesn't have the arrogance of Tony Stark, but I feel you can see some molding of a kind of a genius who's going to be
oh yeah.
I mean, he's
really smart.
he literally go those. Oh, I think I read a Dr. Eric Selvig paper on that. And you're just what? You're in high school. Why are you reading an Eric Selvig paper on that? He's got all these weird bio scanners, so I really like where he's going. We have another genius kind of coming into the MCU. who's likable. So,
and that's another avenue that they like the Marvel can explore.
Yeah.
I don't know how they would explore it because he was like for the most part a side character he was a side character that for the most part would have his name screwed up by Conron.
So funny. It's one of those things that happens all the time, and you think you get sick of it. Like in Thor: Love and Thunder, spoilers a little bit. They have the screaming goats a lot,
I love that.
and it's funny. But I kind of got I was done with the joke after a while. I never got old of the Conron calling him Brian because I was like, it was so subtle and so quick that it didn't take my attention from anything. I was just like, he still doesn't know. He still doesn't get it.
And on top of that, it played to the dynamic where what's Bruno? Bruno clearly he clearly likes Conron.
No, this is what I was gonna say. Right? I think this love interest thing was played out so well because you give that relationship room to run because typically it's like, okay, we're going to start off Bruno clearly got a crush on Kamala, and then
Conron's going to come in.
Yeah, Conron's
take
going to
her away.
And then Bruno's going to get it back by the end of the episode. It's like, no, you had this relationship you could run with for a long period of time.
Yeah.
And I think when they eventually, I'm sure inevitably get together,
yeah,
it's going to be that much more of a payoff, which I'm excited about because I think the very easy thing to do is our characters start off not in love, then there's someone else comes into the fold, someone gets jealous, and then our two main characters get back together and they live happily ever after. And it's we have all of season 2 now, or other shows to see that relationship play out.
Well, I'd even say that Kamala didn't even express any interest.
Yeah.
Not even a little. They were completely and totally they had they were very close because they they were good friends. They were both somewhat nerdy. And neither of them were particularly popular. So they clung to each other.
Mm-hmm.
They were really good friends. So then Conron comes around.
Yeah,
Kamala's like, wow, he's hot.
But I got a thing too. We're talking about culture. I wonder if there'll be a thing in season 2 where you see a culture of maybe she's expected to marry someone who's also brown, and that could be a route that they take as a that may not be a route they take, but
you have to take in consideration she's not there anymore.
Who?
Kamala's not there.
Oh, she's not there. Yeah,
she's not there. So
but if she comes back,
that's saying she comes back.
Yeah,
so,
they've been dealing with a lot about the society pressures and they have the whole gossiping aunties and stuff. I wonder if that would be a situation where they kind of play into that a little bit more, using that culture as a way to be oh, this is why Kamala is not interested.
Actually, not necessarily, because if they're not going to have another double standard. Kamala's brother did marry a black woman.
No, I agree, but there is a double standard. That's the thing.
Yeah, so you have to take hopefully.
Also, I love Taisha's character. Who I'm out here. I recently have rewatched some of the episodes, so I feel I have a better take on a couple of things. So kind of just walking through, episode 1 is a really fun start because you're getting a complete fresh take on this new universe. You've got funny side characters, you got the high school vibes. They have a scene, I think it might be in episode 2, but they show up to the high school party and someone tries to hand him a red Solo cup and Kamala's like, oh, is there is that alcohol? And the guy goes no, there's not any alcohol. She drinks it. She coughs whatever, and then the guy who gave it to her is oh yeah, with orange juice with vodka, whatever. And then there's Kamala's oh my, she asks if she's drunk, and I think there's just these funny scenes in there that really show that you're in high school, and I really really enjoyed that. You feel Kamran's jumping off the top of a building into the pool, and just really goofy high school stuff. It just makes you feel you're a part of something new, again, that Spider-Man vibe. And then even in episode 3, you start to get introduced to everyone, but you're excited because this bangle is really a mystery. They use it as a mysterious object. When you in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, the Darkhold is not really a mysterious object. You kind of know what it's about. It has a lot of bad spells that could do harm, but you don't know about the bangle. You don't know where its power is from. So when they start exploring that kind of a lot in episode 3, you're really interested to learn more. I think the problem is they kind of overstep themselves when they go to Pakistan and you have the Red Dagger show up. But overall, those first 3 episodes, you build up intrigue about the bangle, and then you're able to keep moving on forward. So, are you ready to come back in? All right. So I think they use like the Bengals a good mystery device, and they overextended themselves in episode 4, 5, and 6 a little bit. And I mean, we're gonna talk about episode 5 for a little bit. Episode 5, they have a ton of backstory, and I'm a sucker for flashbacks. But man, that first, I think half of that episode, maybe 3/4, was all done in the past, which is very like aggravating to me.
I mean, the pace of it was very rushed because they had to fit a lot of backstory into a very small period of time. But on top of that, I mean, literally, everybody was running around, so I feel like that even played into the rush aspect of it. I feel like this, maybe the show could have benefited from having like maybe an extra episode or two.
For sure.
Just to place, like, just so you can like delve deeper into like, okay, why is what's happening, in the back, like in the flashback happening, how is that impacting her family, how are like what's going on with the clandestines, and then possibly to also build up the damage control as an actual villain. Because I mean,
they're clearly coming back. Like, this is.
Like, that's definitely not an Avengers level threat, I'll tell you that.
No, it's not, but they're going to be annoying for a lot of groups. I think if they start having, like, X-Men and Mutant show up, like, they're going to be a huge part of that.
Well, I got a question. What was the group in WandaVision?
That was Sword.
That was Sword. Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the difference? What is Sword?
Sword's about, like, I think, like, intergalactic threats, maybe, or, like, specialized weapons, something like they're a little bit more niche because it was created by Rambo's mom.
Okay,
and Rambo's mom obviously was part of Captain Marvel, like going to space and stuff. So, yeah, it's a little bit more like I guess space related, even though Wanda's not from space. It's a little bit confusing. I don't really know why damage control was there because there wasn't much damage to control. Like they started hunting Kamala after she broke off Ant-Man's head and caused the hanger to swim down. Like, there wasn't really much damage to be controlled, so it was a little bit weird.
Very much so overreacting.
Yeah.
Does that mean that Pokemon Schultz, Sword and Shield, is canon to the MCU?
Yeah. Infernape would wipe all of his Avengers.
He would.
Infernape
would absolutely sweep. As well as Miguel from Cobra Kai.
Miguel would not sweep.
All Valley champion Miguel, come on.
He's not sweeping anything. So yeah, episode 5, I think the pacing there was just really like tough, kind of. But I did really enjoy the finale. I think they started off with like, as we were just talking about, they started off with like fun high school stuff, and they ended in the high school gym doing this ridiculous escape plan to get out of the gym. They're throwing tennis balls at like the guards. Wow, that's a little bit unbelievable because it's like, come on, guys, like this is like these are like trained agents, and you're throwing softballs at them and like doing smoke. I was like. It was really fun. It was fun to see Amir like get in there and be like, "Yeah, I'm gonna like get through this high school with you guys." And then
I like how it all brought the family together, though.
Like,
yeah, I think that was one of my favorite things about the finale because like throughout the entire show, you have like different family aspects, like Kamala probably like being frustrated with different family members and stuff like that. She's traveling, literally going back into the past, so there's not really like there's not really anything. Necessarily together, but like at the end, you have everybody like working together as a team. You have Kamala like getting the payoff of like she can do this. You have who became the leader of the mosque.
I think the same guy was still the leader, right?
What did Kamala's friend run for?
Oh, she's on the executive board.
Okay, but yeah, like you have that payoff too. I think the aspects of it were done well, but I still think like parts of it were rushed. I don't know if Marvel's like constricting themselves to like a 6-episode series consistently, but like I feel like they really could have been.
I almost wonder if they're like marketing gurus, people who do the stats on this stuff, is like, no, this runtime like keeps the most people invested, which might be true, but I'm like, I think they might be sacrificing storytelling a little bit. I really do think if they had spent one extra episode before like episode 3, between episode 3 and 4, I feel like was an inflection point. Like they could have spent half of it each, like said, add an extra episode and spend half of that episode back at Jersey City and half of it in Pakistan, just to really like flesh out your story a little bit more, both ways. So I think overall, that's kind of like what I've got about Miss Marvel. Like, where do you see it in like your ranking of Marvel shows, MCU shows so far?
This is either going to be 2 or 3. Loki is easily 1. I would say that no, Loki was fantastic. I love Loki. I think that if this really might have been one if the ending was bad.
You think the ending was bad?
Like just like the last two episodes, like comparatively, I thought.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't call us the bad though. I would say they were just like a little bit let down at the beginning.
Like I really liked it at first, so comparatively bad. But I would say this is either be 2 or 3 behind probably Falcon Winter Soldier for me. I know you don't like Falcon.
We have very different opinions about MCU TV shows.
But I think that I would probably have to put I would say I'd probably have to put it ahead of Falcon Winter Soldier. Then put that at 3, WandaVision 4. I forgot about What If. I wouldn't really. I'm not counting What If for these rankings just for the sake just to make things.
What If's a very hard show to rank because there's literally like the consequences are really low. I mean, they do have like the plots there, but like they haven't connected to anything yet. So
exactly. And then I would say Moon Knight. I just wasn't a big fan of it. I mean, going back to when I was younger, I preferred Greek mythology to Egyptian mythology, anyways. I loved the Percy Jackson series, and then when the Cave Chronicles, couldn't get into the Cave Chronicles. Tried reading it, I got pretty far into the book. I would want to the first book, I want to say, but I still couldn't get it done. So, but I thought I can appreciate that being well done. I thought that Moon Knight was very well done. I thought that WandaVision was very well done, even though I didn't necessarily like it. I think that for the most part, these shows have been pretty well done. Just from enjoyment aspect, not really there. So I would have to say I'm going to say 2.
Yeah, I'm going with 2 as well. If you guys are familiar with my tier list ranking, and if you are new around here listening to a review for the first time, go check out our Instagram at the Watch Athlete Podcast. We do tier list Tuesdays all the time, and we're constantly updating our Marvel rankings. And I have WandaVision as my 10th favorite MCU project. I'm a big fan of WandaVision. Yeah, or 11th. That's one of the 2.
Wow.
I'm a really big fan of WandaVision. I think it's a masterpiece of film, of storytelling and filmmaking, and just where it fit inside of being the first TV show and the amount of buzz it created at the time. People would talk for week-long stints about what would happen next on WandaVision, and it was. I'll never forget being a freshman in college. I'd have people come to my room to watch it, and literally we'd be buzzing after every episode. The internet would be buzzing, and all the theory. It was a time to be alive. So I love WandaVision for that. And I have What If at number 2, and I think What If I really enjoyed it, but I'm going to put Ms. Marvel over it. Probably not by a lot, but because I do think there were some bad parts about Ms. Marvel and rushed parts of it, the good was really awesome, and I think they do a good job of storytelling by the end, really tying up loose ends, having the family come together. And What If just doesn't have that capability because it's very episodic. Episodic, yeah. It's very based on each episode, so and not a complete story. So that's why I'm gonna give Ms. Marvel the edge. So I think a W of a TV show. I think they really did a good job. Got a lot of intrigue. I can't really say too many negative things about it. I think it was a win, and I don't think anyone expected it to be a win. Instantly you say Miss Marvel, and people are like, "Oh, Captain Marvel! This is awful! Who even knows about Miss Marvel? We want to see the X-Men, and we want to see Deadpool show up." And it was a really good film.
No, I think
TV show.
I think if you're a Marvel fan, you should. You basically, if you're an actual Marvel fan, you basically have to watch it. But I think that I would recommend you watch it. You watch the show in general. Mm-hmm. I would say I don't know if there's any of the Marvel shows that have come out that I would just watch in general.
Well, I think if they start adding multiple seasons, I think if Loki comes out with a season 2, that's really good. I think it could be then hey, this Loki show is really good. I wouldn't agree with that, but it would be hey, this is really well. I don't know. It's hard with the MCU. Getting a little off topic here. It's hard with the MCU because I think the MCU has a lot of really, really good projects. So when I put things in C tier, I think they are very good movies. I think I might have Ant-Man and the Wasp in C tier. I love Ant-Man and the Wasp. I think it is so funny, and every time that film comes on, I have a big smile across my face. But the MCU has just had so many good projects that I feel it's easy to be like, nah, bottom tier MCU project, like not that good. And it's like bottom tier MCU project has well over 60% on Rotten Tomatoes, and a lot of films can't say the same for them when they come out in theaters.
No, I mean, I would also say like what's just different about the MCU is they're so reliant on, like at this point, they're just so reliant on having prior knowledge about like what's going on in like the in the MCU. You have to watch like different movies, different TV shows, like actually get like what's going on, and like once you get what's going on, it's so cool. Like that's one of the cool. Like there's nothing really like it. Like it's like there. I don't think there is any. There's nothing like it from what I've been able to see. Especially this currently going on. But I think it's so.
It's one of one.
Exactly. And I think it's just so reliant on having prior knowledge that as a show, it's like a show itself, or maybe it's just like a movie itself. Like it would be somewhat difficult to like be like, yeah, this was like a really good movie. Like you don't need to watch anything else to understand it. Like you can watch. Like I feel like honestly, low key Thor was like basically good enough. Like I would say Love and Thunder kind of like you didn't need to have that much of an understanding about the MCU, like to really understand what's going on. You clearly see that Jane and Thor love each other. You would probably be able to piece together. Okay,
what's funny is they have Korg actually like tell the story of Thor and Jane a little bit. So it's almost like, yeah, we don't really need to know what happened because Korg's telling us in the beginning of the movie.
Exactly. So I think that Miss Marvel, for the most part, can stand on its own.
You just need to know who Captain Marvel is, but even at that, like, she's a superhero. Cool. That's all you really need to know.
Exactly. I mean, and you still kind of get that at the beginning of the show with the YouTube video that Kamala makes.
Yeah.
She's like, Miss Marvel comes in, she fights this guy named Thanos, she punches him a bunch of times. She's super cool.
She wins the day.
Exactly. So,
I think what you're speaking about is like the entry point of the MCU. Like it used to be like if you followed with the MCU when it was first coming out, you got to Endgame and you were like good, and you didn't need to catch up on anything. But like shout out to my aunts that usually watch all the podcasts. They're currently going through watching the MCU, and it's like that entry point for them is so hard because they have to watch 30 plus MCU projects just to get to where we are at today. I think once you get to where we're at, it's pretty digestible because like, okay, you're just watching a show once every month. You might be watching a show. You'll go show up to a movie every couple months. Not too bad. Like we got coming up, like She-Hulk's coming out in August. So we have a couple weeks. She-Hulk will be out, and then a couple more months, and then we're gonna have. I think Wakanda Forever is the next release, right? November. But there's a release. There's a release sometime in November, I think. So like a couple months, and then another MCU. So like that's not really hard for me to like digest and like follow. But when you start talking about needing 30, 40 plus movies to like get into the MCU, it really makes it hard. I mean, having Disney Plus for that is great. Disney Plus, if you want to sponsor us, that'd be awesome. Because almost all the MCU projects, minus some of the Spider-Mans and Hulk, are on there. So it's really like you can watch most of those projects there and catch up quickly. I learned this today. If you ever want to watch them at 1.5 times speed, there's a Chrome extension that you can speed it up because there's no faster playback speed on the Disney Plus UI.
Interesting.
So
I didn't know that. Interesting.
Yeah.
I still would say like part of the issue also is the MCU is like so like mainstream that you probably have like if unless you're like keeping up with like what's going on like as it comes out, like I feel like the payoff isn't like as like great because you can like you might understand like okay, there's going to be like Avengers Endgame, but you didn't have to like you weren't like in the theater or like knew shoot, Infinity War happened, and it's like, oh wait, they just lost. Like they've been building this up through like so many movies beforehand. So like I feel like it's difficult to like I feel like once you get to the point that like we're at like Raj, Andres, and Peter are at, and other people that we know are at, where you like have caught up. You're watching everything as it comes out. Like the payoff is great because you're like, okay, how everything's like supposed to be playing out. You can like piece together and come up with different theories, and it's like fun to do so. But if you have to like grind it out and watch, which you've also probably heard, spoilers technically for Avengers Endgame if you guys are.
And that's what's hard, right? Like we kind of always like joke about like what we want to spoil, what we don't want to spoil, but like it's hard. Like there's a lot of people haven't seen that stuff, and also like I feel like the MCU can be something that like 50 projects down the line, people write reports about like, well, it really wasn't that good. It just like wrote people in because people watching Endgame for the first time, not in theaters, they're not going to understand like, what that moment meant to so many people.
Not at all. Like or just like, especially like when the movie comes out, like and like if you did, like I didn't see Endgame on the day it came out, or the night it came out. So even
I was there.
Like, but even trying to not get it spoiled
Yeah.
was something else. Like not going on social media, not having like one of your classmates just trying to spoil it just for the sake of having spoiled it. Like that was a thing within itself. So once you actually got to watch the movie and you got to see how everything tied in, you're like, wow, thank you, Kevin Feige. Thank you all, like, you know, the actors and actresses that, like, you know, all the like the different like, you know, people that put effort in the MCU. You're like, wow, thank you. But, like, I mean, I think it's going to be a while until you have, like, a movie that's going to be, like, on that same caliber where it, like, ties everything together, kind of, like, ends a story. But, I mean, also, you know, there's always going to be, like, the bias of, like, you know, being the OG. So, like, Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
It's, like, it's not the OG Avengers movie, but it's, like, the OG, like, end to, like, Avengers, like, to the Infinity Saga. So, like, it's going to have, you know, preference over, you know, most things that come out. Infinity War 2 also will have, you know, that's also going to have preference. So, yeah.
We've gotten a little off topic here, but I think that's going to kind of conclude what we thought about Miss Marvel. Was like briefly, I think we're going to just cover our thoughts on Moon Knight. We never really got to talking about it on this channel, and like we talked about it like briefly inside certain podcast episodes. So I think we just kind of, Jacob and I just want to like just throw out our thoughts on it. So if you don't care about that, like click off. Thanks for watching. But if you are a little curious about what we thought about Moon Knight and where it fits into the MCU, like, we'll go ahead. So, I guess I will start. Moon Knight for me was really, really frustrating because I did think I might have said this on a podcast. It was everything I like wanted it to be, or everything like I would be interested in. Like I like really dig like Greek mythology, like Egyptian mythology. Like, I really think that stuff is cool. I don't really believe in it, but I think it's really cool. I've read like the Kane Chronicles, like Percy Jackson book, like that is right up my alley. So when you talk about like having like an Egyptian god series, I think that I like the concept of him having like a split identity, like being bipolar or whatever, super cool. I just feel like they tried too hard, and it really lost me. And I feel like it started off really interesting, but like when you start off, you like don't even you. When you start off the show, you're already left out with so much information because, like, one of our personality knows it all. Like, Steven knows it all, but who's the other guys? Oh, Mark. Mark knows it all. Steven doesn't know it all. They don't really take the time to explain the backstory, so I was kind of just, like, confused in episode 1. Then I started to get a gist in episode 2 or 3 what's going on. And then, like, episode 4, 5, and 6, they, like, I felt like they kept trying to, like, be like, nope, haha, he's not really an Egyptian god, he's just mentally ill. And I was like, okay, I could dig that twist, like, that's really interesting. And then they were like, nah, just kidding, like, he's actually an Egyptian god. I was like, alright, you got me there, good one. And then they were like, nah, he's actually mentally ill. And I was like, okay, like, which one is it now? And they're like, actually, he's an Egyptian god. And I was like, I got over it really quickly. Like, I didn't understand what was going on. And I think some people would be like, well, you just didn't understand, like the psychology of what was going on in his head. And it's like, no, like, I do understand. They just tried to, like, trick me one too many times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was, I remember I was watching the first episode. I didn't watch the first episode of my own. I went over, I was watching with Raj and Peter, and I was...
where was I?
This was weird at Forbes Greg when we were watching this.
Oh, wow, did it come out that long ago?
I think so.
Dang. That's crazy.
Yeah. But we were watching it, and Peter was clowning me because I kept on asking like questions, like because like it just didn't, none of it made sense. And like he's technically right. It's like, yeah, okay, you just have to watch the show because that's part of it. You might not. They're probably not going to tell you everything that's going to happen as soon as it happens. But it was just very like it was different. It was, I thought, like not necessarily bad different, but they just kept you like flashing in and out of like, okay, was this a dream? Was this real? So like I was like, you know, joking around kind of, and calling it like Inception because you're not like sure if like what they're experiencing is a dream or if it's reality or whatnot. So I thought it wasn't like necessarily my cup of tea. I thought it was very well done. I still have the song "A Man Without Love" stuck in my head because that
we listened to it in the car twice when we went to Target.
exactly. I mean, it's a good song. I like it. I mean, I feel like most of the songs that Marvel's probably going to use, I'll probably just like because I've been hearing enough.
Fire in the Sky from Shang-Chi is really good.
It is. I don't know that song.
Oh, it's great.
But I'll probably have to listen to that, and I'll probably get that stuck in my head. But I thought that towards the end, it was just like it was okay. I thought that it was well done, but like it's not something I would ever go back and rewatch. Like not like I would recommend if you're a Marvel fan, you got to watch it. But I think like at least for me personally, aside from like the fact that I had to watch it as a Marvel fan, it's not like I was like sitting there like, okay, what are they going to do next with like in this episode? It's not like I was sitting there like I thought as much as I might like clown on WandaVision was like somewhat weird enough but also like had good cliffhangers where you're like kind of like it left you more so wanting to know what was going to be happening. I thought that Moon Knight didn't necessarily do it as well as WandaVision did. So I wasn't necessarily I just wasn't a huge fan of it.
To me, what it comes down to is I feel like in every show you root for the characters, and like that's why Civil War is such a gutting movie. It's because like no, I love both Tony Stark and Captain America, and they're like fighting. Like that's like really what drives that movie. Like you have these characters you're deeply invested in, they're fighting against each other. And I love WandaVision because I think they do such a good job of the characterization of like Vision and Wanda and like really the grief they're experiencing. And I think even like Monica Rambeau, she's like dealing with like the legacy of her mom and like trying to prove that to be right. And I think Miss Marvel like has great characters. We just talked about like with Kamala and Bruno and all those people. Like, I think they have great characterization. I only cared about one character in Moon Knight, and that was Steven.
Yeah.
And he was the main character. And honestly, I really don't even care about him that much. Like, I thought he was a funny character. Like, I love the Australian accent and everything. Like, it's just great. But otherwise, like, I never cared about. I'm forgetting his name now, but I'm never forgetting about the villain. I don't care about the villain. I really don't care about
I don't know if his act like the character's name is, but it's Ethan Hawke.
Yeah, like I don't care about whoever he portrays. The name is escaping me. It's very annoying, but there's not many characters I cared about. And I felt like I was invested in every single character of Miss Marvel, every single character of WandaVision. Even I don't even like the show that much, but I was very much invested in Falcon and Winter Soldier characters, like trying to figure out like how they were like Bucky was dealing with a lot. Like he was like we literally saw his like therapy sessions. Then like Falcon like taking up the mantle of Captain America, like big character like moments. And Moon Knight was like not character driven at all, and I think that was disappointing. So
it was like an origin story, just like I didn't really like. It clearly was, but like I didn't care.
Yeah,
like at all.
And as we're talking about it, I'm like I might end up dropping it down on my tier list. I might want to rewatch it again, but I'm like I just don't know where the redeeming value in the show is.
I have no like reason to. There's nothing about it that makes me want to rewatch it. Like I thought, like again, I'll admit, like when some like it's a good job is done. So I thought Oscar Isaac did a good job playing the main character.
Mm-hmm.
I like Ethan Hawke because there's a movie called Training Day that he was in, and I love that movie. Shout out to Training Day, and shout out to Denzel Washington because he's also a character in Training Day. But
he's not a character in MCU, but shout out Denzel Washington.
Exactly. But like there's nothing about the show that like at least for me like I would want to go back and watch again. If he's like pops up in like a show, it'll be cool because like I know okay that's Moon Knight. I know who that guy is, but like I don't feel like I would have needed to like watch every single other episode. I would just be like okay yeah that's Moon Knight. He's gonna be that guy. Then like I'm done.
Well, I didn't feel like the ending like Miss Marvel were like sitting here like, oh my gosh, this changed everything. Like at the end, they have Khonshu like making deals with like the third personality to like take over and still work as his avatar. And I'm just like, so we're just gonna get Moon Knight season 2 where we're getting like flipped personalities each way. Like I'm sure it'll be better because like I didn't think too highly of Moon Knight, but like I don't know, just like doesn't really leave me much excited for like the future of that show, future of the MCU, where like I leave Mrs. Marvel like this is awesome, WandaVision this is awesome, even Loki I'm like this is awesome. What if like I'm excited for season 2 to come up, and then I'm just like Moon Knight, I'm just kind of like I'll watch it when it comes out, but like I hope it is better. If it's not better, it's gonna be a really bad L.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm not as uninterested in it as this as I was this past time, I'm not saying I would, but I might even be inclined to just like watch the first episode, do maybe just like read like watch a recap video, and then just watch like the post credit scene for like the key if there's like a keyword like scene like in Miss Marvel, I might just watch that, call it a day, and be like okay, I kind of get what's going on. I'm not that interested in it because I don't even think like what's Moon Knight going to do in the MCU. Like you also gotta like think about like a lot of the stuff like in like at the grand scheme of things because like you got on like a base like a lower level like villain, you got like the Madam Hydra, like all that's gonna like eventually pop up, and I think that's gonna be cool, but I don't think Moon Knight would be involved in that. And then you got like going into space, you got like all the different like threats out there where it's like okay, that's like kind of an Avenger level threat right there. Like Madam Hydra's not an Avenger level threat, but I like the team building that like like this every other show, like she might just be popping up recruiting people. I enjoyed that, but and then you have like the other side where it's like eventual threat, but I don't see where Moon Knight's going to fit in, and it kind of also just like gets me back to like in Eternals, like where the Eternals like that should technically be an eventual threat, but like at the end of the day, like I don't know what's going to be happening with that, and like. Maybe Peter's going to be screaming if he's listening to this podcast. Like, they're not supposed to tell you everything that's going to be happening.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. Yeah. Like, I'd like to have like some form of idea so I can like speculate. But like, I don't know.
Well, I thought Gore the God Butcher was going to actually end up tying into Moon Knight because like they are Egyptian gods, but no, Gore is just like downright dead now. So like, now like I thought it was going to be like, oh, Gore was still going to be like alive at the end of Thor: Love and Thunder, and then be like, oh man, is Moon Knight going to get involved because he's technically like an avatar of a god? But no, like that's not going to be it. So it'll be interesting to see. I guess like that's kind of my like thoughts on Moon Knight. I mean, it's been a while since I've had really like reviewed the show at all since like I last watched it. So like it's a little bit spotty. But those are kind of just like the general impressions I have about it. Do you have any closing thoughts before we close out the pod?
I don't think so. Recommendations for everybody. Watch The Boys. Definitely watch The Boys. Fantastic show. S-tier show. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily Marvel, but
still an S-tier show.
S-tier show. Shout out to Will for getting me on it. You need to watch it.
Yeah, get the episode downloaded.
Yeah. Andres actually probably might watch it. Raj just finished it. I don't know where Peter's at. I know Mira's watching it. I think that's about it. That I've told to watch the show.
We're getting everyone on it. So I guess with that, we're going to leave that there. Thanks for watching. We had fun, I think, doing our first in-person podcast here. So let us know what you thought below about this kind of setup. Comment kind of what your thoughts were on Miss Marvel, Moon Knight, the future of the MCU, anything. And I guess with that, we will see you next time on the Watch Athlete podcast.
See you later.